Hey everyone, we're the Violet Reality. My name is Casey Rain, and I'm here in London with Camilia for another episode of your favorite show, Uncovering Prince. And today, on this characteristically wet, rainy London day, we are here with none other than Nicole Nodland, Prince's photographer in mid-90s, gold experience, most beautiful girl kind of era. I'm sure you've all seen her amazing photos. And today, we're going to find out the stories behind them and how it all happened.
Let's take it all the way back to the very beginning. How did you get started as a photographer?
It's weird because I've kind of been interested in photography since I was very young. Since about 8 years old, my dad gave me a camera and I just took to it. I just thought, this is exciting because I'd always done this. I'd always had this interest in taking my friends and doing makeovers on them, and then I would shoot. So when I was able to get this camera, then I thought, oh, I can take this one step further. I'll shoot them. I'd do their hair and makeup. But first of all, I would do the before picture. This is so mean, actually, now thinking about it. And then I would do the after picture after I did the full-on hair and makeup, dress them up, and then, I feel so bad now. I used to force them to make me pose for them. Some of them, fair enough, took a liking to it. So that's how I started, and then I just kept going. But my whole life was ballet. And so I had a terrible injury. I was with the Minnesota Dance Theater, and I was in the Nutcracker and everything, and I had a terrible dance injury. So I had a lot of free time. And so because I had such a structured life, I was kind of confused. What do I do with all this free time? So I had this high school teacher who had I was very lucky. He had a kind of I was able to do this after school photography class because I'd never been able to do that. And he chose a few students to pick to send to a kind of a college to do this extra special photography course. Anyway, jumped to that. I ended up doing that, and I learned how to, develop film and print film. And I spent, during the whole time I was injured, I spent my whole time in the darkroom and taking pictures. So I was very, really into it. I'd already had a whole portfolio. So I guess then my first actual professional start was with Prince. And I don't know if a lot of people know this. I'm throwing myself out there going, yeah, I'm outed. I had never really done a professional shoot before Prince. Prince gave me my first professional gig. So it was because of Prince that was then, that changed when I...
You're from Minneapolis originally, born and raised in Minneapolis. So how did you go from studying photography or learning how to do it to then working with Prince, who's already, a global superstar by this point? What does that transition look like?
I mean, if I had known, before, I would have been, shooting myself for years before going, how am I going to... But because I didn't know, and I was just thrown into the deep end, I think it was a blessing. But in actual terms, I was in, trying to make this story short, I decided to move out of Minnesota, find my claim to fame being a photographer in Los Angeles. Yeah. So I went to LA and, it was shooting models, running around the deserts and the woods and whatever, and then subsidized that by being a makeup artist. So I dabbled in all the different areas. I fell in love with a guy, moved to Israel. Long story short, when I came back to Israel, all right, okay, this is where we cut it. I moved back. There's kind of an important part in the thing because when I went back home, or when I went back to LA after realizing the guy was nice, but home isn't Israel. Everything was gone. So I had this horrible experience where I had nothing but a suitcase full of summer clothes and a camera. So I'm in LA, thinking I have no home, nothing. Everything I had known, it was gone. And that's a whole nother story, but it's not all bad. Even though it was very traumatic, it forced me to kind of go home for Christmas and try to figure out what I'm going to do. Went home to my parents and regroup. And, when you're young and you're eager, you think, well, I've got 2 weeks here. What can I do? So I called up Flight Time, Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis. Yeah. I called up Paisley, of course, just thinking, yeah, I could shoot, not knowing rejection and just kind of going for it. And I called up McCann Erickson, an advertising agency. Obviously, I wanted Paisley to. So they answered the phone. They said, yes, come show us your book. So I thought, wow, this is incredible. So I got all dressed up and drove out to Paisley. I showed, I can't remember for sure, but I'm pretty sure, weirdly enough, it was the financial person. It wasn't Therese. Therese was also involved, his personal assistant, who was a very amazing woman. But then I wish I could remember her name. Anyway, so I showed her my book. She said, actually, we could be looking for a photographer, so can I keep this for the boss and, to show him? I said, hell yeah, you can keep it. Well, of course you can keep it. So I drove home and I said, Mom, I went to Paisley and they asked to keep the book. And so we were, jumping for joy. And still she was, before saying, you need to get a job, you need to learn how to whatever, forget this photography career. I was down and out, And bless her, she believed in me, but they wanted to say, not everybody you can't be homeless, Anyway, so we were in our pajamas. I remember being so excited, eating lots of food, and it was really late at night, and the phone rang. She was like, well, who could that be? And I said, and I was like, no. I ran to the phone, and she picked it up, and she's like, and it was Paisley, and they said, he'd like you to come down. And I said, what? It's a great win. I've told this story a few times, but it's still really exciting telling it, because it still brings me back to that time. And I said, great, when? And they said, well, tonight, of course. And I went, oh my God, tonight. So I'm like, get out of the pajamas, get all dressed up, put on some semblance of whatever, drove back out to Paisley. Meanwhile, it's like midnight this time, all lit up in purple. Get in there, and it's like a ghost town. I think, what do I do now, I mean, just walked into Paisley, no security or anything. And so, thankfully, some guy came through the he was like, are you looking for the boss? And I'm like, yes, I guess so. I mean, I just made a call, and that night they called me, so I said, I think I am, gotta do it, now or never, Nicole. So they said, yep. He just pointed down some corridor. He was like, yep, recording studio A. As if, as if I knew, what the hell. He was so laissez-faire about it. And then he disappeared. It was like, dude, help me out here. I just got to find my way to recording studio A now, and there's nobody. So I just walked down the hallway, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I see recording studio A. I walked past it because I'm thinking, okay, am I recording studio BC? I walked back to recording studio A. Nothing. Oh, okay. All right. It's now or never. Push the door open. Oh, God. And the band, NPG, were in there just jamming. They didn't even really look that shocked that some random walked in. But they were like, who the hell is this one? Making sizes, who the hell, but still jamming. More important, just keep the music going. I thought, okay, I don't know what to do. I looked around, and it was very awkward. I kind of inched my way back thinking, I'll go find someone who's in charge here. Nobody's in charge at that point. You know what I mean? I'll figure out what the hell I'm actually supposed to be doing. There must be something I should sign or something. I walked back, and then just at that moment, I knew he was behind me. He had that way about him always. He always had the way of just appearing. It was like he always appeared. And throughout the whole years, he always did it to me. You'd think by now you'd be like, oh yeah, I smell him. He's in the ether. I got it. But no, he would be there. So anyway, he was there. I turned around, and there he was. And it was amazing. He was very intense, dark, beautiful, perfect. like the most beautiful, you can't even explain it. The eyes, you know, just staring at you. And he asked me a few questions, random questions, I think, too, which was like, how old are you? He had the lowest voice. I think that was the most disconcerting thing, because you're used to the musical voice, but you don't, he hadn't done a lot of interviews. How old are you? And I said, whatever, I'm not going to tell you. And he's, do you have any Polaroid? And then he just walked past me and ignored me and started jamming with the band. And I'm still wearing like my winter, and I thought, well, here we go. So I just took my coat off, got my camera, got it all ready, and just started shooting. And then I kept shooting, and then he said thanks. And then the next day, Therese called me and said, can you send us pictures? I sent them pictures, and then they said, can you shoot tonight? And then I think it was pretty much every single night after that. I did a shoot, much to the, the band was probably very confused because it was like music, 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 and then all of a sudden he was like, yeah, let's do, and we were shooting every single night.
Just to be sort of clear about like general timelines, this is after the name change, right?
Probably right after. I don't know the time. You probably know better. But I'm pretty sure it was that kind of, that weird time where, he had changed his name, and it was, things were happening. So,
how hands-on was Prince with the photography and sort of like the look and image that he wanted for it? Did he like allow you to work in your sort of style, or was he like really hands-on with it? Was he like, this angle, this sort of look, this sort of style? How was he like? What was he like?
That was the kind of exciting part, because in the beginning, well, even towards the end, but in the very beginning, he wasn't hands-on at all. He would just say, I want to do a shoot, and every night I would have this opportunity to go, okay, what could I imagine? I've got from 6 p.m. till 6 a.m., we're nocturnal animals. We have a whole sound stage. We have a wardrobe department. We have a financial department that's not stopping anything. So, when you're young, you're like, okay, I've got to take this moment and utilize it to the best I can. I don't know how much time I've got left with him, but I need this, and I want to do the best job I could possibly do, like almost overkill, where I was like really overly ambitious. So I used the whole soundstage as like my whole playground. So it's a football field, you know what I mean? Yeah. So you could have like, easily 5 sets going. So every night I would just go, okay, or, every day I would imagine, what do I want to do? So it sounds cheesy now, but remember it's the 90s. So I'd be like, okay, I'm going to buy a 500 Gerber daisies with the yellow backdrop, and then I'm gonna do a red and white theme. I'm gonna buy 3-foot, 5-foot, 10-foot red and white balloons, and then I'm gonna do a black and white theme with a gray backdrop. I was really going for it every night. So every night we would have, and I just did it. Oh. And the only thing that I had to say was in between the sets, can you guys now go? They never knew what was going on, but because the wardrobe department at that time was upstairs at Paisley, huge wardrobe department. I can't give them enough credit and the amazing amount of whatever they had at their disposal. So if I said, okay, now I want red and white, so I thought that would give me some time for them to figure out. No, 10 minutes, they'd be back down. I'd be like, oh my God, we're still trying to put... And when he was like, can you just get rid of all of your assistants? So when he'd leave to change, I'd be like, everybody come in, quickly. And we'd move the set, because, you could only get so many lights, So we'd move the set, and then we'd have, so it was adrenalizing, to say the least. Remembering this was my first professional gig, so... He gave me full freedom, and he just went with it, and it was amazing. And so, in terms of like moving and shooting, there was none of that. It was like music, and it was like a well-oiled choreographed machine. We just did. We didn't even have to talk much. It was like almost a visceral experience. It was, looking back on it now, I almost just... there's nothing that can compare to that still. even though it was my first, it was like a disco down. They were all so good. They knew and somehow I figured out how to work it, because it's no kind of, people know he's a bit smaller. So somehow we made it work. And then I think it was the second or third day we did the cloud backdrop, and then that became The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, the one. And I'm rambling now, but it was beautiful. It was very effortless, and he trusted in me to do it, and I appreciated that, and it gave me so much kind of confidence.
Obviously, you had shoots with the band and with Prince on his own, but was there any particular member of the NPG that you really loved to shoot, or maybe got along with a little bit better than anyone else?
In truth, I loved shooting all of them because they were all amazing in their different ways. And so there's different things, and now that I've realized as a photographer, because for me personally, I hate being photographed, and that's why I'm a terrible subject to shoot. And so, when you're not comfortable, it's harder to shoot. And then that's me trying to be, and some of them were like, not happy about me always in their face, because I wasn't just shooting the sets. I had, he hired me to be in their face 24/7 to get the whole thing, and they were like, fair enough, fair play to them, It was new to them for someone to be there 24/7, but not part of the band, but part of so it was really difficult, and I had to try to ingratiate myself, but be not scared enough to do it. So that's going way off piece here, but I think in terms of, obviously Prince was the most favorite person to shoot. Morris, obviously he was great because he was so lovable, and I'll admit I had a very soft spot for him. He was he's just that guy, guy that everybody loves, and he's got that flirty thing. And then obviously Maite, she is amazing because as a fellow dancer, and then her, not only she's beautiful, but she could move, and just being able to do things with that female energy and fashion and doing things. She was fantastic, she could move, and then, I don't know if this counts, but Nona, she wasn't in the NPG, but she was very much around there. I had a lot of great opportunities to be just alone with her, and shoot and kind of do something amazing. He sent us to Vegas once for a week or two, just the two of us. And they were doing something, but then he said, just stay on and shoot. And so we were holed up in our hotel room, and every day we just go, what do you want to do? And we dress her up, and we go out to the desert, and without, anybody, just the two of us, and a security guard and a driver, and a ton of clothes. And she was so good at her makeup. She had the short hair by then, and we'd do pin curls, and then she was so much into it too. So that was awesome. But I think, all of them are great. But
speaking of Nona, were you around when they did the video for LOVESIGN and Ice Cube directed it? Because I think it's such a random fact that I think for Prince fans, when they hear about it, what Ice Cube directed a music video for Prince and Marvin Gaye's daughter, what?
Crazy. Hello, what a renegade crew. That was crazy. It was an amazing time. We all flew out to LA and had the treatment, and so I was there. I shot all the stills, and I got to meet Ice Cube. I shot a lot of the pictures, and to see that happening, that red leather, my God, just sweating in her boots. So I was on that set, and it was awesome to see them working together and see how that, totally two different artists, but in the same way, just respecting, and so that was quite amazing. Yeah, that was a great experience. I have a lot of great pictures from that. Yes. And Ice Cube was really cool. He was very cool. So I love art. I love Ice Cube. So
That's it for part 1 of our exclusive interview with the amazing photographer Nicole Nodland. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, and stay tuned for part 2 coming real soon.
Hi, I'm Elisa Fiorillo, and you're watching The Violet Reality on YouTube. All things Prince.